Hello everyone, I'm Gila Zak. Welcome to this episode of the G-Spot. And today's episode is a continuation of our series of Dr. John Kappas' theory of emotional and physical sexual suggestibility, the way that we behave in relationships and our unconscious motivations and drives of how we get our needs met. I'm going to pick up where I left off last time and talk about the sex of it all, because this is really how we can see E&P playing itself out, whether it's in a very harmonious context or a crisis context. I want to emphasize that the most important piece of this theory is rejection. It's one of the 4 core traits that determine whether we're an emotional or physical sexual in the first place. So how we respond to rejection is going to tell us a lot. The physical is going to feel it physically, painfully, and they're going to want to hold on. The emotional is going to experience the rejection as more intellectual emotional pain, and they're going to want to run. Now, in the last episode, I mentioned this concept of manipulation, of how when we learn this theory of behavior, we can then start to predict how our partner is going to behave, and then we can shape their behavior. But there is also an unconscious manipulation that's going on, and it's more the type that you might consider manipulation to be. You see, each partner, emotional or physical, is going to unconsciously be trying to manipulate their partner into giving them what they want by the behaviors that they are engaging in. So what does this look like? The physical is going to try to manipulate the time, the energy, the response of the emo by trying to assert dominance. They're going to be the ones to tell you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. They're going to tell you if you're getting it right or if you're not getting it right. And they generally, either consciously or unconsciously, know that they can control that emosexual through guilt. And so they'll use guilt as a way to unconsciously manipulate to get their needs met, to get more attention, to get more affection, to be more the focus of the relationship and have their priorities be number one within the relationship, because that's what asserting dominance is for the physical. They believe that their needs, wants, and desires are a priority and that that emo should be there to meet them. Now, unconsciously, the emotional is going to manipulate the physical by using rejection. That emotional is going to behave in ways that are subtle rejections or overt rejections as a way to try to regain control of their experience, their environment, most importantly, their priorities. So we can see that this becomes a struggle, it becomes a dance for dominance. And somebody's going to have to submit, and it submits usually through rejection, and that poor physical ends up running away hurt, or the emotional finds themselves over-dominated by the physical and they have to acquiesce and submit. Some of the common reasons that people would seek out hypnotherapy, they come to me and they say, Gila, I'm having a problem. I'm either having a sexual dysfunction or I'm feeling like my sex drive is really driving me and controlling me and it feels out of control. And what we do is with hypnosis is we look into, again, what's driving this behavior at the unconscious level. So a common theme that I will hear is from an emotional sexual male who will tell me that they're experiencing erectile dysfunction with their partner, and whether it's intermittent or whether it's consistent, I always ask them this question. When you masturbate, are you able to achieve an erection? Are you able to orgasm? And if the answer is yes, then that tells me that there is some sort of behavior or some relationship or association to their partner that is creating undue pressure, which is causing them to not be able to enter into their physical experience. We can then help the emotional sexual to either learn to communicate to their partner more effectively, more calmly and confidently, because remember, those emos generally want to avoid conflict. And we can teach them how they can come forward to their partner and share what it is that's creating that pressure for them. It's important to remember that with erectile dysfunction, you're going to want your hypnotist to ask for a medical release, because we want to rule out any medical issues that could be contributing to the problem. But if it's really all in your head, hypnosis can help you to get out of your head and into your body. I'll oftentimes get emotional sexual females that come to me and just tell me, Gila, I have a really hard time getting into my body. I'm experiencing anorgasmia. This is an inability to reach orgasm. And they're telling me that, this is really affecting my relationship. What's wrong with me? And again, it's very similar to what the emotional male is going through. What is the pressure dynamic in the relationship? And does this emosexual feel like they are losing control in some way? It's important to remember that context is really important to arousal. Now, Emily Nagoski has a fantastic book called Come As You Are, and I encourage all of you to read it, whether you are on any side of the partner spectrum, monogamy, polyamory, emotional, physical, or anything in between. because she has wonderful metaphors and examples of how our desire is context driven. But as hypnotists, we help you to understand the different contexts, why those are so arousing or why those turn your brakes on and your arousal off. And we can help you to move through that in a way that gives you the experience more that you're looking to have in the contexts that are available to you on the daily. Now, the physical sexual will often come to me and one of the things that they will complain about is that they are not getting enough sex. They're not getting enough attention. They're feeling rejected. They're feeling worthless. And very often, if it's a woman, she's telling me, do I need lips? Do I need boobs? Do I need butt implants? And we have to let them know, hey, this is not about you. It's not personal. It's not your body. Let's look at what's driving that insecurity. Because when we see a physical sexual that experiences their sex drive or their desire that feels on overdrive, it's usually a defense. They're looking for the sexual connection, and it might not even be as pleasurable as they want. It's like they're trying to scratch an itch, but it's not the kind of pleasurable itch that feels like oh, I just soothed it with some yummy balm. It's just like, okay, scratching the itch, right? And so physicals will often use sex as a way to assuage their insecurity. And that's not necessarily the kind of juicy, pleasurable sex that we should be having, is it? The other thing I'll see a physical sexual for is they've shut down. They've been rejected so many times, either in life or by their partner, that they just give up. They just shut down their sexual energy. And if you've watched any of these other videos, you know that those physical sexuals, they need the intimacy, the contact and touch. They need it like air and water. They can't live without it. And so with hypnotherapy, we can help them to learn how they became shut down, learn how they became so insecure. Where did they pick this up? And how can we help them to drop it off and leave it in the past where it belongs? Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about physical sexuals is that the men are the ones that are always the horn dogs, and the women are the ones that are, prudish and not wanting it. And the truth is, about 50% of the population, whether you're male, female, or anything in between, is going to be a physical sexual. Someone who has more of a spontaneous arousal, spontaneous desire. And it's the unconscious motivation behind the spontaneous desire that we're looking at. Because again, if it's there because there's this loving, wonderful interaction, engagement with our partnership, that's fantastic. But if it's coming from this needy place, then we have to look at that and say, how can we help you to feel more calm and comfortable in your body? So the important thing is to remember is it's not genital dependent. It's not sexual identity dependent. It's not sexual orientation dependent. It's all whether or not you are on a spectrum of unconscious behavior that's very natural and normal. And those physical sexuals, we're going to see them having a higher desire, a sex drive, as we sometimes call it, which is a bit inappropriate, but let's just save that for another conversation. And it's just natural, it's just normal, okay? You're totally fine and natural the way you are. And if you are a physical sexual woman who has a lower threshold and your arousal comes up easily, there's nothing wrong with you. It's society that's told you there's something wrong, and they're the ones that are wrong. So to recap, emotional and physical sexuality is determined by the environment into which we're born, the type of caregiving we receive or don't receive, our relationships, our relationship with our body and touch, our relationship to other people. It's how we feel a sense of control or lack of control, a sense of worth or lack of self-worth. The emotional and physical theory of behavior, you'll notice it overlaps with attachment theory, with other theories that are out there, and that's because all theories are just theories, and many of them have overlaps. But one of the things that I completely see day after day in my practice is that the theory of emotional and physical sexuality is playing out so specifically in the ways that I have laid out for you. And hypnotherapy can help you to address the issues that are causing the intensity or the disconnect or the feelings that rejections are personal, and help you to move beyond them for once and for all. I personally believe that it is all of our divine birthright to experience intimacy, sex, and connection in the most positively manipulated way for everyone's benefit. Now, in my next and final video on this series, I'm going to be going into the sexual fantasies of emotional and physical sexuals, how they may vary, what their intended purpose is, and what they're designed to do to help the emotional and physical experience what's called physical safety within the sexual experience, to allow them to connect with their erotic energy in a more powerful way. So if you have found this content interesting or curious, please leave your comments below. Please share with others, like and subscribe. Until we see you next time on the G-Spot, be well.